Doggett from Texas.
I thank the gentleman and both my colleagues, though I respectfully disagree that this Congress has placed any priority on helping get people out of poverty. Indeed, when it comes to poverty in America, this Congress has largely been silent. I think the Congress itself is impoverished when it comes to ideas about how to lift people up into the middle class. We talk here so much about the middle class, and appropriately so. But there are millions of people out there who are struggling to just climb up that first or second rung of the economic ladder and work themselves into the middle class, and this Congress is doing little constructively to assist them. The need for real and meaningful change is particularly evident in my home state of Texas, where the state legislature has been so incredibly indifferent to this problem. There, 1 out of every 4 children is below the poverty level, and over 1/3 of all Texans live in the shadow of poverty, meaning that their income is less than twice the poverty threshold. The Corporation for Enterprise Development ranked Texas near the bottom among all states on key measures related to financial security. Now, here's what today's bipartisan bill, does to respond to that. And it's really a story of the number one. Of the several Republican proposals that were originally advanced by now Speaker Paul Ryan 2 years ago, some introduced by Republican colleagues and some containing good ideas, this is the one last bill standing, with the notable exception of a budget that is devastating to opportunities for poor Americans. This is the one and only bill on temporary assistance to needy families, previously known as welfare, that Republicans will even permit us to discuss on the floor of this House. This one very modest bill does not add one new dollar to address the challenges that those who want to rise from welfare to work need. It simply segregates $100 million from an existing fund for 1 year. Now get this. That fund that they're segregating the $100 million from, Donald Trump is seeking to abolish the entire fund so that no monies for this proposal will be available after 1 year. This bill gives the states no new flexibility, no new authority. It does not authorize them to do anything that they cannot do today. Indeed, some states are already finding, and I think my colleague from Illinois referenced one of these, are already finding ways to do, in appropriate situations, subsidized employment. What this bill does is to say that on this particular $100 million of a fund as last until President Trump eliminates it entirely, that the states must use the money in a particular way. In other words, it seeks to restrict the states who receive these monies to require them to use it for one particular way to assist those who are in poverty. It is also significant that the Trump budget cuts are so far-reaching in trying to undermine efforts to raise people out of poverty and for those who are not able-bodied to provide them the support that they need. This bill deals with a little less than 0.5% of the Trump budget cuts. I believe sincerely that we need a better approach, that we have ideas on both sides of the aisles that are being blocked by a determination to not address root causes of poverty. First, we should support initiatives that strike at the early seeds of poverty. Programs like the home visiting program that will expire in a mere 3 months, a program that helps to improve opportunities for at-risk children and help their parents be the parents they want to be. And certainly early childhood education is a key part of that. Second, we should increase efforts to help people gain the skills they need to secure jobs through which they can support their families at a living wage. And that's the challenge here. Sure, some employers will love to have taxpayers subsidize their workforce, pay part of the wages that they would otherwise have to pay. And sometimes this is a valuable support, particularly for people that are re-entering our society after incarceration and other groups of particularly hard-to-place employees. But for many folks, the big question is, When the subsidy ends, when the taxpayer stops paying, will there be a job there? And is there a job ladder that will allow that person to work themselves up? Or are they essentially participating in minimum wage employment that will not support their family and will not provide them a future? There are in-demand skills training programs that do work and do offer an alternative, but they're not free. They take an investment. An example is Project Quest in San Antonio, which has an 86%.
Additional 2 minutes.
Thank you very much.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Project Quest has an 86% job placement rate for its graduates, who boost their incomes on average from $10,000 a year before entering the program to $40,000 a year. And I know there's similar programs in other parts of the country that do the same. They're not subsidized employment, but they are working with poor people to get the skills that they need for an in-demand job and working with local employers to find out what types of jobs are most needed. And in many parts of America, our economy is being held back by a lack of qualified workers. And then one of the areas that's so important to all parents, but particularly to single moms that are in poverty, and that is child care. And President Trump is proposing not one, but 3 cuts to child care, cutting out hundreds of millions of dollars of support to child care, which stand in the way of many individuals from working their way out of poverty. I believe that we need to be working together to try to find genuine solutions. And that working together is not just here in this House in Congress, because the big problem here is that when we voted in 1996, and I voted for it, for moving from welfare to work, we expected the states to be partners in that effort. And today, as much as we talk about work and getting from welfare to work, exactly 8 cents out of every dollar being spent on the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, 8 cents goes to work supports. And not very much more goes to child care, and President Trump, of course, wants to reduce that. It's only by having a comprehensive program that is really focused on the roots of poverty and assisting those who would help themselves that the promise of that welfare law can become effective. Unfortunately, while we did change fundamentally and end welfare as we know it, it became welfare for Republican governors who wanted to use these federal monies not to assist the poor, but to assist their states fill various budget gaps. We have a great example of where block grants fail. I hope we can find ways to succeed.